غرباء ولغير الله لا نحمل الجبال غرباء.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Can you all hear me? Yes? جميل. طيب. الحمد لله رب العالمين له الحمد الحسن والثناء الجميل وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له يقول الحق وهو يهدي السبيل وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على نهجه إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فالسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أولا, my beloved brothers and sisters, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes this gathering a gathering of benefit and that He allows there to be barakah in His gathering so that we may benefit. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us from those people that He mentions fi mala'il a'la, in a gathering high above, that we are found trying to learn and study the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if it's one ayah and even if it's one hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Secondly, I would like to say that, Jazakumullahu wa khairan to the brothers from the way of the Sahaba that kindly invited me and had husn dhan of their brother to give this lecture and this muhadara. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows us to say that which is correct and that which is befitting ala deen al-haq. Today, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, as our brother mentioned as an introduction, that we are going to take the famous hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding al-Ghuraba. And inshallah ta'ala, as we study this hadith, and I'm just going to focus on this particular hadith inshallah ta'ala, we're going to take as many benefits as we possibly can. And we're going to extract as many statements from the Sahaba and the Salaf in order to understand the concept of al-Ghuraba. What is al-Ghuraba? What does it mean to be gharib? What does it mean for Islam to be something which is gharib? All of that we're going to take bi'idhnillahi ta'ala so that we can have a wholesome understanding of this particular hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we ask Allah tabarak ta'ala that He makes us from al-Ghuraba. The hadith, first and foremost, is a hadith which has been narrated in many places, from Jami' al-Tirmidhi, Sunan Abi Dawood, and the Musnad of Imam Ahmed, and the Sahih of Imam Muslim, and the books that have narrated this hadith go are a lot. But I'm going to just for now stick with the narration which is narrated in Sahih Muslim, narrated by the great Sahabi Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, which the Prophet, he narrated that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, بدأ الإسلام غريبا وسيعود غريبا كما بدأ فطوبى للغرباء. In this particular hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he describes for us the situation of Islam, what it used to be and how it's going to be. And this hadith is really covering and talking about the topic of the fitna and the trials and the tribulations that occur fi akhir zaman, in the final endings, in the final time of this ard, of this earth, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He brings everything to an end. And during that time period, when it happens, what is the situation that's going to be? And so what this hadith is teaching us, inshallah ta'ala, is what is going to happen during that time period and how me and you can protect ourselves when that time occurs. And as we're going to derive some parallels, we're going to see that even though we may not be in that particular waqt where the Prophet mentioned, we are very much close to it. And therefore, it starts from today where we start to protect ourselves from being indulged in the fitna and being engulfed by the fitna that has started to come, as we've been seeing for many years. This particular hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Bada al-Islam ghariban." The Prophet said that Islam, it started as something which is gharib. Now, I want to pause here and talk about two things. When the Prophet said Islam started as something gharib, at which point is the Prophet talking about Islam? Is it Islam at the time of Adam alayhi salam? Or is it Islam, يعني ديننا, يعني شرعنا, our particular sharia, which started with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? This particular time frame that the Prophet's talking about when he says Islam started as gharib, he's talking about at the time when the Nubuwwah and the Risala came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was inside of Mecca. When he was living in Mecca at the age of 40, when the angel Jibreel alayhi salam came to the Prophet fi Ghar al-Hira, and he conveyed the first verses from the Quran from Surah Al-Alaq. When that happened, and now the Prophet's da'wah started, that is the time frame that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was talking about. So, Bada al-Islam. Islam started during that time frame as something which is ghariban. Something which is gharib. Now let's understand, what does the word gharib here mean? The word gharib, most of us, we translate it to mean something which is strange. But let's try to get a better understanding of the ma'na, the meaning behind this word, when the Prophet said that Islam started something strange. And the word gharib, one of the meanings that it has is something which is far away. Something which is very far away. So far away that it's not recognized. It's hard to see, it's not understood properly. And so when Islam started in Mecca, when the Prophet's da'wah started in Mecca, was it something which was unrecognizable by the people? Was it something which was, something very far-fetched to what they had known to the people of Mecca at that time? Yes, it was. Because the people of Mecca at that time were mushrikun. They were people that associated partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they came to worship. Not only did they worship idols, not only did they worship stars and the moon and the sun and the tree, all of that collectively, and some of them they also worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the very same time. And so, because of that notion, right, of what they believed for so long, when Islam came, it was very confusing for them. It was very strange. You have narrations of the ru'us of Quraysh, the heads of Quraysh, when they're debating with the Prophet ﷺ, when the Prophet is giving da'wah to them, their responses have been, what? You're telling us to leave off that which our forefathers worship? You're telling us that we're going to go from what our father and grandfather and great-grandfather have been doing for so many centuries, and now listen to what you came with? And for them, it was something which was gharib. It was far wide and far-fetched. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet ﷺ is telling us that when the Prophet came at that time, when Islam came at that time, it was very strange. So much so that it resulted in harm coming to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We're not just talking about the fact that Tawheed was strange to these people. The notion of Tawheed was completely strange for them. They couldn't fathom it. They couldn't understand, why do you want us to worship only one God when we've got so many we can worship? There's more help, there's more power, there's more this. Why? They couldn't fathom this concept. At the very same time, the people that were with the Prophet ﷺ, the people that were with Islam at that time, were very little in number. And you can count on your fingers. Islam came, the Prophet was the first. Then who? Khadija, Abu Bakr. And there's some of the other Sahaba to join. And some of the narrations mentioned that at the time when the Prophet came with his Risala, there was only 10 of them. There were only 10 of them collectively that were actually upon Islam. And so what it also means is that Islam, when it becomes, it started off as something gharib, meaning it started off as something which was bizarre to the people. It was far-fetched. They didn't understand it. They didn't know what it was about. They couldn't understand what this notion was all about. And number two, that the people that were part of this were very little in number. They were very, very few in number. They were very small. And so what the Prophet is telling us is that Islam at that time was little in terms of the people that followed it, and the strength of the Muslims at that time was also very weak. It was also very weak. I want to mention to you another hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, just to kind of understand the concept of the gharib. And I think it's it's a nice parallel to make, which is the famous hadith that the Prophet ﷺ narrated of Abdullah ibn Umar. which is narrated in Sahih Bukhari, where Abdullah ibn Umar, he mentions that the Prophet ﷺ said to him, "Kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib." Be in this world, ya Ibn Umar, be in this world, be in this dunya, ka'annaka gharib, as if you are someone that is gharib, or عابر السبيل, or somebody who is عابر السبيل. Now, what does it mean when we say عابر السبيل? A lot of us know it means as if somebody that is basically just, crossing a path. Okay, they're just on a journey. They're not really waiting around. They've got destinations to go. They keep it moving. Okay, but what does it mean when the Prophet said, "Kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib"? And I want to mention to you what Al-Imam Ibn Rajab Al-Hanbali, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned. Al-Imam Ibn Rajab Al-Hanbali, rahimahullah ta'ala, in the explanation of the 40 hadith of Al-Imam Al-Nawawi, and he added more hadith to it as well, and he made it the Ziyadat al-Rajabiyya, and he made it 50 altogether, and the book is called Jami' al-Ulum wal-Hikam. Okay, Jami' al-Ulum wal-Hikam. And in this particular hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that be in this world as if you are somebody who is strange. And he mentions that what that means is that you are a person who is living in a place that you are not familiar with, and the people are not familiar with you as well. And you're so strange that you don't know these people, and the people do not know you at the very same time. And you know that your stay in this particular place is not going to be long, it's going to be very, very short. The point that I was making is that Al-Imam Ibn Rajab Al-Hanbali, he mentions that when we talk about the statement of the Prophet, "Kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib," and to be in this world as if you are somebody that is strange. Okay, what it means is that somebody that's gharib, somebody who is not familiar with the place that he's at, and the people don't know it as well, and he's only here temporarily, and he's waiting to go back to his actual abode, which is al-Jannah. Which is al-Jannah. And so the Prophet ﷺ said to us, "Bada al-Islam ghariba." Islam started off as something which is gharib, something which was not known to the people, something which they were not familiar with, something so much so that the people themselves were very few in number. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, وَسَيَعُودُ كَمَا بَدَأَ. And the Prophet said that in history, you will see what's going to happen, is that Islam started off as something that the people didn't know, the people were not familiar with, the people they disagreed with, the people they hated, the people were few in number when it came to the Muslims, and it will increase. And we'll get to a point where the people will be familiar with the Muslims. They'll be familiar with Islam. Islam will have strength. The people will be many. Okay, the concept of at-tawheed will not be unfamiliar with the people. They will understand what is tawheed. But then the Prophet said, eventually what's going to happen? سَيَعُودُ كَمَا بَدَأَ. Eventually a time will come, and it's going to go back to what? It's going to go back to as it was in the beginning. What the Prophet is telling me and you, my beloved brothers and sisters, is that a time is going to come where the Muslims are going to be few in number. A time is going to come when our strength is going to go. A time is going to come where the people are going to hate us. A time is going to come where our enemies are going to want to destroy us. A time is going to come where at-tawheed will not be known by the people. The concept of at-tawheed will be bizarre to the people. And when that time happens, the Prophet said, those that are mutamassikuna, those are the people that are holding on to the Quran and Sunnah at that point, فَطُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَى. The Prophet said, طُوبَى to those Ghuraba. Ghuraba is the plural for somebody that is gharib, meaning people that are, the people of Ghuraba, the people that are strangers, meaning the people who are upon Islam, and the people do not like them. They are few in number, but they're holding on to the Quran and the Sunnah. And the people are harming them, and they want to disassociate with them, and they want to show enmity towards them. But these people are still holding on to the Quran and the Sunnah. The Prophet said, for those people, tuba. For them is tuba. There's a discussion in regards to what is the meaning of at-tuba, but what we do know is that it's a sign of glad tidings that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is given to the Sahabas, he's given to the companions, and he's given to us by extension. That glad tidings is going to be for the people that hold on to their deen, for the people that live in this world as those strange people, those people that when they look at them and they feel like, what are you doing? Why do you have such a long beard? Why are you covering your face? Why are your women covered completely? And you feel that restriction, and you feel that anxiety, and you feel that tightness in your chest that everybody's against you. When you're still holding on to the Quran and Sunnah at that particular point, the Prophet's telling you, you are the people that are going to get the glad tidings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are the people that are going to get the reward of Al-Jannah for holding on to your deen, even in these times of hardship. Now, I want us to understand that what the Prophet is describing for us here. I always say to people, it's very important for us to study the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because we have to draw parallels between the life of the Prophet and our own lives in order to understand how did the Prophet behave in those particular situations, so we know how we should behave. I mean, the Prophet's life in Mecca was not like his life in Medina. The Prophet's strength in Medina was not like his strength in Mecca. The ahkam for the Prophet when he was in Mecca was not like the ahkam for the Prophet when he was in Medina. So all of these things, they play a huge part in the way that we implement our deen today. And if you look at the Prophet's life in Mecca, okay, you look at the Prophet's life in Mecca, and you look at the persecution that the Prophet went through, you look at the harm that the Prophet went through, you look at the fitna that the Sahaba they suffered, the names, Bilal ibn Rabah, Ala Yasir, Ammar ibn Yasir, Sumayya radiyallahu ta'ala anha. You look at the Mu'adh, you look at Mus'ab ibn Umair, you look at all of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and you look at the other and the harm that came to them. I think we can very closely draw a lot of parallels between the Muslims being harmed by the kuffar of Quraysh and what is happening today in Palestine, in Gaza, with our beloved brothers and sisters that are being oppressed and harmed and tortured, and around them are all of the Yahud, the Zionists, and those that have teamed up with them in order from the kuffar, in order to bring harm to our beloved brothers and sisters. And the quwwah of theirs has gone. The quwwah of theirs has gone. And we live in times where the strength of the Muslim is now lacking, and we don't have it as it was once upon a time. Is it going to get worse? Yes, the Prophet is telling us that it's going to get to such a point where it was exactly in the beginning stages at the time of the Prophet ﷺ in Mecca. And so, because of this particular message and nasiha from the Prophet, we have to be aware of what is going around us. We have to be aware of the fitna that is around us, so that we may protect ourselves from falling into our own desires and leaving off the Quran and the Sunnah and the understanding of the Salaf of this Ummah. I wanted to mention this particular hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, "Bada al-Islam غريبا وسيعود غريبا كما بدأ فطوبى للغرباء." There's another riwayah of this particular narration where the Prophet ﷺ was asked by the Sahabas, "Man al-Ghuraba?" And Ya Rasulullah, who specifically are these people that are strangers? These Ghuraba, who are they? What is their characteristic? What is their sifa? How are they like? How we want to be able to identify that so that we can also become like these people. And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Alladina yaslihuna idha fasada an-nas." The people that are upright and they have rectified their affairs. They've done islah of themselves. They've connected themselves to Allah and His Messenger and the Quran and the Sunnah. They've come and maintained al-istiqamah. They came with being upright and firm on the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at a time إِذَا فَسَدَ النَّاسِ, when the people have become corrupted. When the people have been corrupted. I will talk about my particular perspective. I was born and raised in the UK, and having lived my years of growing up in the UK, and we look at the situation of how it was for us Muslims in the UK and how the situation has become now. Fasad al-nas, the people have become corrupted. When I was young and I was studying in school, the concept of being, a homosexual and being gay and LGBT wasn't something which was rapid and spread across the people. I'm now looking at the situation, and it's now spread everywhere. And it's spread everywhere to the point where if you are now, it looks strange if you're not trying to be gay. It looks strange if you're not trying to change your pronouns and say that, I'm, a fish and I'm a cat and I'm this and I'm that. It's strange for the people if you're not doing that. So at that time now, we say it's very hard for the people to maintain their Islam. And that's when the Prophet said that when you hold on to your Islam at this particular point in time, this is where you truly shine. This is where you truly shine. And this is where you truly bring about the greatest reward for yourself by maintaining and being upon the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Imam Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, he mentioned, we have to, inshallah, we ask Allah to make us from the Ghuraba, are like people that they are not familiar with this place. I don't know this place. I don't really understand these people. Okay, and these people, they don't understand me. They don't know what I'm upon. They can't fathom why I'm only worshiping Allah. They can't fathom why I'm growing a beard. They can't fathom why the sister has to cover her face. Why we have to go to the masjid and pray 5 times a day. These things they can't fathom from us. But we know we're only here temporarily, and we're just waiting to go to our next destination, which is Al-Jannah. And when a person brings that thought to the front of their head, to the front, and in front of their very own eyes, you will be able to navigate yourself through the darkness that this world has. But it's connected to you holding on to the Quran and Sunnah. And this other narration of the Prophet ﷺ, which is mentioned in Jami' al-Tirmidhi by Abdullah ibn Abbas. It doesn't mention the Rawi, but the Sahabi who narrated the hadith in Jami' al-Tirmidhi, he mentions that the Prophet ﷺ said, فَطُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَى, and glad tidings is for the people that are strange, the strangers. الَّذِينَ يُصْلِحُونَ, the people, the stranger are the people who rectify themselves, right? مَا أَفْسَدَ النَّاسِ, when the people have become corrupted. Okay, they're rectifying themselves and they're doing islah of themselves and they're correcting themselves. And how are they doing it? Min sunnati, and they're doing it from my sunnah. They're using my sunnah, they're using my advice and my wasaya and nasa'ih and my advices that I gave in order to hold on to their deen, in order to stay firm and not lose their Islam. And so, my beloved brothers and sisters, when we look at all of these narrations and we look at everything that the Prophet is telling us, the Prophet is telling us a very simple thing, which is, Ya Ummatul Islam, O the Ummah of Islam. A time's going to come where things will become very difficult for the Muslims, like it was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And we see elements of that today. If not in every country, there are some countries which are worse than others. And the Prophet is telling you that at this point in time, you holding on to your deen, means you're going to get a great reward. You're going to get a great reward. Al-Jannah is waiting for you. But how do you maintain your deen? Al-Quran wa Sunnah. You have to stick to the Quran and Sunnah. If you're a person that's going to reject the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and only take the Quran, you're not going to stand firm. You're going to lose your deen. You're going to lose your Islam. If you're a person that's going to reject the Quran and only try to keep the Sunnah, you're going to leave your deen. You're not going to be able to hold on to it. But if you're a person that combines between the two, you take the Kitab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and tamassak bil Quran, you hold on to the Quran, but tamassak bil Sunnah, and you hold on to the Sunnah, then that is the person that's going to firmly stay firm and have istiqamah in order to get past all of these problems and these issues and all these fitan and fasad that are going to come to you, that are going to come in our direction, are trying to throw us away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now a person will ask, okay, good, the Quran, the Sunnah, I get it, but what do I do? You're telling me I need to stick to Quran and Sunnah, I need to stick to the Book of Allah, I need to stick to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, but how do I actualize that? How do I implement that in my limbs so I'm actually sticking to the Quran and the Sunnah and I'm staying firm? Very simple. Very simple, my brothers and sisters. It's a very simple thing. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Anybody that comes with at-taqwa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them a makhraj. Allah will give them an opening, and Allah will help them and aid them. Yani, at this time of fitna, we need the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need Allah to open routes for us of freedom and victory and ease. And Allah says He will do that for you if you come with at-taqwa. Now what does that mean? What does it mean to come with at-taqwa? And the at-taqwa, my beloved brothers and sisters, it means, the word taqwa comes from the word al-wiqaya in the Arabic language. The al-wiqaya, it's a shield that you use, in a battle you use a shield as part of your armor to protect yourself from harm, right? And so at-taqwa means to take al-wiqaya, to take a shield to protect yourself from the anger and the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Take a shield to protect yourself from the anger and the punishment of Allah. You don't want the anger of Allah to come to you. You don't want the punishment of Allah to come to you. So you protect yourself with a shield. What is this shield? It is at-taqwa. And what does it look like? Al-Imam Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali mentions it for us. He says that it means that everything that Allah commanded you to do, every obligation that Allah gave to you, you come with it. You stick to it. Allah told you, worship me alone. You don't associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah told you, follow the messenger. Ittiba'u sunnah. Follow the sunnah. Allah told you, establish the salah. You establish the salah. Allah told you, hajj, umrah, zakat, as-siyam, fasting, all of these things. Birrul walidain, being obedient to your parents. One thing at a time. You come with everything that Allah obligated from you. And at the very same time, you stay away from everything that Allah prohibited. You stay away from everything that Allah told you to stay away from. Allah told you to stay away from zina. Allah told you to stay away from stealing. Allah told you to stay away from haram money. Allah told you to stay away from intoxicants and khamr. Allah told you to stay away from gambling. Allah told you to stay away from being rude and disrespectful. Everything that Allah told you to stay away from, bid'ah, shirk, kufr, and you stay away from it. When you come with the obedience and you leave off that which is not permitted, taqwa starts to build inside of yourself. And your qalb starts to manifest as taqwa. And for that reason, Allah will protect you from its punishment and His anger. And as a result, you will get a makhraj from Allah. When things are looking tough, everyone around you is just not on the deen of Allah. They look at you as strange. They mock you, they insult you, they ridicule you. Allah will make it open for you. And Imam Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali mentioned something else. He says taqwa has levels. So there's a level above that. And I believe we live in a time where every Muslim should strive to take the high level of taqwa. Okay, to take the higher level of taqwa in order to really maximize the help and the aid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the ajr from our end. He says that not only do you do everything that Allah commanded, but you now start to implement the sunnah as well. The things that are mustahab, the things that are recommended. Okay? The things that are recommended. Praying ar-rawatib as-sunnah. Praying the voluntary prayers. Giving sadaqah. Visiting the sick. And at-tabassum fi wajhi akhik. And just smile in the face of your Muslim brother. And the things which are from the mustahabbat, you start to do them as well. Okay? For those brothers that believe, taking another wife as part of that, you do that. Okay? You add it to your list. You come with the mustahabbat. And at the very same time, you not only stay away from the haram, but you stay away from that which is disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the makruhat. I'll give you an example. Didn't the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that the most hated place to Allah on this earth is the marketplace, the souk, the markets, the malls, all those places. And the most beloved place to Allah is the masajid, the house of Allah. Does that mean it's haram for me to go to a mall, to go to a souk? No, it's not haram. Walakin, is it disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Of course, Allah dislikes it. You start to implement that. You stay away from the things that are disliked. You want to go out and you want to just play games and have some fun with your friends. Is it haram? No, it's not haram. Is it disliked by Allah? Yes, because it's time wasting. Especially for those people that are very indulgent in these things. Allah Ta'ala would rather have you do what? Worshipping Him, doing the dhikr of Allah, learning, seeking knowledge, spending time with your family and teaching them the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those things that actually get you rewards, and ajr. Allah Ta'ala would rather you do that. So now you take the high level, which is that you not only do the wajib, but you do the sunnah, the mustahabbat. You not only stay away from the haram, but you also stay away from that which is makruh and disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. And when a person does that, you come with taqwa. You come with taqwa, Allah gives you a makhraj. The people that are suffering due to the strangeness that they feel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make your affairs easy for you. Because why? You held on to your deen. You held on to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you held on to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you held on to the Quran and the Sunnah, and in response, Allah ta'ala gave you a makhraj. Now, before I finish, I wanted to mention to you all, it's a very important statement, okay? It's a very important statement, which I believe that every Muslim should remember this. Al-Imam al-Shatibi, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his book Al-I'tisam, okay, Al-Imam al-Shatibi, in his book Al-I'tisam, he mentions a statement of Al-Imam al-Fudayl ibn Iyad, rahimahullah ta'ala, okay, a statement by al-Fudayl ibn Iyad, rahimahullah ta'ala. And I think this statement really summarizes what me and you need to do. He mentions and he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, alayka bi tariq al-haq. He says, upon you is to be on the path of truth. What is the path of truth? The Quran and Sunnah. You need to stick to it. And when you're on that path and you're always implementing the Quran and Sunnah, وَلَا تَسْتَوْحِشْ لِقِلَّةِ السَّالِكِينَ. Don't start to feel lonely at the fact that there's very few of you that are doing this. You're living in a household, you're the only one that's practicing, everyone else is not. Everyone mocks you for your hijab, they ridicule you for your beard, they say to you, oh, you're really practicing now, you used to just do all that haram yesterday and now you're trying to be like this. And you feel lonely. He says, وَلَا تَسْتَوْحِشْ لِقِلَّةِ السَّالِكِينَ. Don't feel lonely due to the fact there's only a few of you, right? And he said, وَإِيَّاكَ وَطَرِيقَ الْبَاطِلِ. He said, and be cautious of the path of falsehood, the path which leads to the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? وَلَا تَغْتَرَّ بِكَثْرَةِ الْهَالِكِينَ. And do not get fooled due to the many people that have taken that path, the path of batil. Don't look at it and be like, wow, there's so many of them. There's so many that have taken that path. There's so many that are on that path. Don't be fooled by that. Why? Because what Allah says in the Quran, وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّوكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Do not, if you were to follow the majority of people upon this earth, they would have misguided you from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? From the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, do not get fooled by that. Don't get fooled by the fact that there's so many people in that path, and within Ahlul Sunnah, within the Muslims, there are people who say, we are from Ahlul Sunnah. La, we are from Ahl Sunnah. No, we are from Ahl Sunnah. They're not from Ahl Sunnah. And you think, wow, there's so many of them. And I said I'm Sunni as well. And they're all doing this one thing. And I'm not. Should I be on the path? If you know you're sticking to the Quran and Sunnah, إِيَّاكَ وَطَرِيقَ الْبَاطِلِ. Be cautious of the path of falsehood. And do not get fooled and deceived by the many people that have taken that path. Okay? Don't get fooled by that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows us to be firm upon our deen, وعلى طريق الحق. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows us to be from al-Ghuraba, because we live in a time, my brothers and sisters, where things are very tough, very tough. But, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there will always be طائفة منصورة. There will always be a group of people on this earth that are always worshipping Him and that are always on that path, the path of truth. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us from them. Anything which I said which was wrong or incorrect, فإنه مني ومن الشيطان والله ورسوله بريئان منه سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. I think we'll take some questions inshallah ta'ala very quickly, and then it's nearly time for Salat al-Maghrib for me, so I would have to get going. But let's take some questions inshallah ta'ala if you guys have.
Inshallah.
So what is the reference of the hadith? Who are the Ghuraba?
Jazakallah khairan, Ustadh, for this very insightful session. We have certainly understood the meaning of the word Ghuraba, and we take lessons from the Sahaba when they were tortured and strengthen our iman in face of difficulties. May Allah reward you for taking your time out of your day and giving us a very important reminder. May Allah guide us, all of us, and keep us firm on the deen. We ask Allah to accept this from us. Now we open up the Q&A session. Brothers can use the mic and ask questions, while the sisters can use the chat box. I request that brothers and sisters restrict your questions to the topic that has been taken today. Inshallah.
Just quickly to answer the question regarding the hadith, Man al-Ghuraba, the hadith is narrated by Imam Ahmad Muslim, by Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas. And the hadith is considered to be sahih. The kitab by Imam al-Shatibi is Kitab al-I'tisam. Al-I'tisam. Kitab al-I'tisam. Two books of Imam al-Shatibi everybody has to read. If you want to understand عقيدة وأصول الفقه والفقه والفرق والضال والبدعة and everything. The Kitab al-I'tisam and Kitab al-Muwafaqat by Imam al-Shatibi. Those two books. Very important, inshallah ta'ala. Any questions?
Is there any questions? If not, we could just wind up this session.
If you don't have any questions, could you mention in the chat no questions? The brothers know. Ustadh, you mentioned about taqwa if a person comes with good deeds and mind the bad deeds. If a person is trying to attain a taqwa and you come with good deeds, and you might fall into sins and minor sins. As long as a person, inshallah ta'ala, is repenting and then working on that, then inshallah ta'ala he will, and his taqwa will, and gradually increase. But remember, every time you sin, it affects your taqwa. And every time you repent and you do more good, it increases your taqwa. Al-imanu yazidu yanqus. Your iman goes up and down. So based upon that, it will fluctuate. But the point is, the more you repent for the wrong that you did, and the more you do good, you can recover from those issues. Are you all from the subcontinent? Pakistan, India? MashaAllah. India, Allah. Amazing. No questions? Barakallahu feek, bro. I just want to say, inshallah ta'ala, may Allah tabarak ta'ala honor each and every single one of you fi dunya wal akhirah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows us to be from those people that are ya'amilun bi'ilmi, people that implement the knowledge that they learn. Because knowledge was not given to us to just be mujarrad, mere facts and information. Knowledge was given to me and you so that we can implement it and better ourselves in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we ask Allah to make us from those people. And anything which I say which is wrong or incorrect, then it is from me and shaitan, and Allah and His Messenger are free from it. And again, Jazakallah khair to the brothers at the way of the Sahaba, an amazing project. And brothers and sisters, encourage you all to participate in these muhadarat whenever they take place, to benefit yourselves and to also grow the community of those that are studying and learning the book of Allah and the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Barakallahu feekum, jazakumullahu khairan.